Okay, so, I've been thinking about how contentious and polarized the country is, especially around this election cycle. And I was kind of wondering why that was, and really didn't come up with much. But there was an op-ed article in the Times that I read, and it was written by a Republican, actually, called Arthur Brooks. It was quite interesting. And he cited some facts about the views people hold that have brought about this polarization that we're experiencing in the country. So I thought I'd just share a little bit of that. So the first one is that a Pew Research Center study from 2014 shows that the share of Americans with consistently conservative or consistently liberal views has more than doubled in the last 2 decades. To 21% from 10%. So, people that are really one extreme or the other. In 1994, 40% of Republicans were more liberal than the median Democrat. Isn't that interesting? And 30% of Democrats were more conservative than the median Republicans. Today, those numbers have plummeted to 8% and 6%. And then 38% of Democrats have a very, very unfavorable view of Republicans, and 43% of Republicans hold that view of Democrats. About half of consistently liberal Americans say most of their friends share their views, and about a third say it's more important to live in a place where that is so. And for those that are consistently conservative, these preferences are even more pronounced. So hence the polarization of this country. And of course, the difficulty of this polarization is that it totally obstructs any collaboration. And we can see that, that's, everything has been so gridlocked from, and I think that's some of the reason why, there's not been a whole lot of fixes for even the infrastructure, because people can't agree on, what to do, how much money to spend, how to go about it. So this fellow that wrote this op-ed piece said, so he asked the question, so what's the antidote? And he asked the Dalai Lama, which is so interesting. And he said, I asked the Dalai Lama, one of the world's experts on bringing people together. He made 2 points. First, the solution starts not with institutions, but with individuals. We look too much to political parties or Congress to make progress, but not nearly enough at our own behavior. We know this one. He says you can't single-handedly change the country, but you can change yourself by declaring your independence from the bitterness washing over our nation. You can strike a small blow for greater national unity. Then secondly, he says each of us must aspire to what the Dalai Lama calls warm-heartedness towards those with whom we disagree. And then this, Arthur writes, this may sound squishy. I don't know what squishy means really, but it is actually tough and practical advice. And as His Holiness has stated, I defeat my enemies when I make them my friends. That's a very good sentence to remember. I defeat my enemies when I make them my friends. And he's not advocating us to surrender our views of those with whom we disagree. We can be liberals and still embrace those that hold conservative views. That's fine. Our duty is to be respectful, fair, and friendly to all, even those with whom we have great differences. So it's quite difficult, of course, but we can see how His Holiness has taken on that view. He keeps working to find a peaceful, compassionate solution to the difficulties with the Chinese and how they are treating the Tibetan people, and that whole thing. And he continues to work on that. He makes prayers every day that they have happiness and all good things. So these concepts are not so unusual for us when we study Buddhism. I think one of the things that was so interesting about this article for me was I read the comments. I like to read the comments to get a feel for how people are thinking in the country, and there were 161 of them. And I think I only found 2 that focused on what this fellow was talking about. All the rest talked about why the other group has made the polarization happen in this country. So it's so interesting. And you know, when I think about my own practice, when I feel like I really started practicing was when I turned my mind from that habitual stance of seeing that my difficulty was because of you, wherever, you know. Once I was able to get clear about practice is about me looking at what I'm doing and how I am affecting what is around me on a local level and actually a global level, I believe. You know, what I do today affects this world, this universe. And so I think it's really good for us to keep bringing ourselves back to this idea that if I work at how I am reacting to what comes up in front of me, and I use the Buddhist ideals and practices, that then I'm going to decrease the polarization in this world, you know. And again, it's not so easy, but if we don't do that, then we see how we operate every day by making those around us distant from ourselves. And that only brings misery. That only brings misery to ourselves and, of course, to others, but to ourselves. So today and, this whole week, let's think about turning our minds toward what we can do from inside out, not being externally referenced to what others are doing and then get critical and start ragging about the problems are because of outside. The problems are right here. Let's work that place. And we do this for the benefit of all.